The porch light went off at 9:47 p.m. I know because I checked my watch. I was standing on the front steps of my son's house in a wool coat that hadn't been warm enough since 2019, holding a Tupperware of fudge and a wrapped box of pajamas for my granddaughter. There was snow on the toes of my boots. The wind was coming off the lake the way it always does in late December, sharp, with teeth. I had rung the bell 3 times. I had knocked twice, the second time harder, the way you knock when you're starting to think the bell isn't working. I had stepped back to look at the upstairs windows. Lights on in the master bedroom. Lights on in what I knew was my granddaughter's room because I'd helped pick the curtains in 2019. Music playing, faintly. A man's laugh. I recognized as my son-in-law Greg's brother, who was apparently inside, while I was apparently outside. And then the porch light went off. Not a flicker, not a brownout, a click. Someone, and there was only one person it could have been, had walked to the foyer switch and turned it off while I was standing there in the dark. My daughter Bridget, 41 years old, the woman I had laboured 16 hours to deliver in 1983. I stood very still on her porch in the dark. The snow kept coming down, slow and feathery, the kind of snow Bridget used to call Christmas card snow when she was little, and we were happy, and I was the most important woman in her life. I rang the bell one more time. Nothing. I took my phone out of my coat pocket. My fingers were stiff. I called her. It rang 4 times and went to voicemail. I called Greg, straight to voicemail. I sent a text. "Sweetie, I'm here. Did the bell stop working? It's pretty cold out here." The little delivered turned to read almost immediately. No reply. I stood on that porch for 11 more minutes. I'm not proud of that. 11 minutes is a long time to stand on a porch in 12-degree weather, holding fudge for people who have made a decision about you. But I was 68 years old, and I had driven 3 hours through a snowstorm, and I had brought pajamas with little reindeer on them, and I needed 11 minutes to understand what was happening. At 9:58 p.m., the curtain in the front window moved. Just a little, just enough that I saw a face, Bridget's face. She looked at me on her porch, me, her mother, in the snow, and our eyes met for maybe a full second, and then she dropped the curtain. She did not come to the door. I walked back to my car. The driver's seat was already cold. I sat behind the wheel with the keys in my lap, and I did not cry. I want you to know that. I did not cry. I just sat there with the snow gathering on the windshield, and I watched the porch light stay off, and I made one phone call. It was to a hotel 16 miles back the way I'd come, a Holiday Inn Express off the interstate. The girl at the desk said they had a king room on the 2nd floor, and was I a rewards member? I said no. She said it would be $147. I said fine. Then I started the engine, and I drove to a Holiday Inn Express on Christmas Eve, alone, with a Tupperware of fudge on the passenger seat. And somewhere between mile 6 and mile 7 on that frozen interstate, I made a decision. It was not a loud decision. It was the kind that comes with paperwork. I was going to change my will before the sun came up. The hotel room smelled like industrial cleaner and the previous guest's cologne. I didn't care. I sat on the edge of the bed in my coat, and I called my sister Iris in Phoenix, where it was 8 p.m. and 71 degrees. "Margaret, why are you breathing like that? What happened?" I told her. I told her about the porch light, the curtain, the 11 minutes. The text marked read. Iris was quiet for a long moment. Iris is the older sister. Iris does not waste words. "Margaret, where are you right now?" "A Holiday Inn Express." "Are you safe?" "Yes." "Are you going to do something stupid?" "No." "Are you going to do something smart?" I almost laughed. I had not laughed in 6 hours. "Yes, Iris, I'm going to do something very smart." "Tell me." "I'm calling Howard Klein at sunrise." She exhaled. Howard Klein had been my husband Frank's lawyer until Frank died in 2014. He had been my lawyer, ever since. He was 76 years old, and he answered his own phone, and he had once told me that the only thing he loved more than the law was duck hunting at 5 in the morning, which meant he was going to be awake at 5 in the morning anyway on Christmas Day. Good, Iris said. Margaret, listen to me. Do not call her tonight. Do not text her. Do not explain yourself. You understand me. I understand. This is not the first time, is it? I did not answer. Margaret, is it? No, I said. It's the third time. Tell me the other two. So I did. I told her about Easter 2022, when Bridget had told me brunch was at noon, and I had arrived at noon to find them all eating at 11. And Bridget had said, "Oh, Mom, I must have told you the wrong time. Sit down. We saved you a plate." And the plate had been the heel of the ham and one biscuit. I told her about my granddaughter's 7th birthday in October, when I had driven up with a present and arrived at the address. Bridget had texted me to find a strange family who had never heard of any birthday party. And when I called Bridget, she had laughed and said, "Oh, Mom, I changed it last week. Didn't I send you the new one? I'm so sorry you came all this way." I had driven home that day and cried for an hour in my driveway. Then I had wiped my face and gone inside and called Bridget back and pretended to laugh about it, because I did not want to be the kind of mother who made things weird. "Margaret," Iris said. Her voice was very level now. "I love you, and I love Bridget. But sweetheart, she has been training you to disappear for a long time." I sat on the hotel bed in my coat, and I let that sentence land. She had. Of course she had. I had simply been too well-mannered to notice. I hung up with Iris. I took off my coat. I unwrapped the pajamas with the little reindeer on them, and I folded them neatly back into their tissue paper and put them in the hotel desk drawer. I would not be giving them to my granddaughter. Not this Christmas. Maybe never. I had not decided yet. Then I opened my laptop and I started counting. Not years this time, not dollars yet, though those were coming. I counted moments. The moments I had let go. Bridget at 23, getting married, telling me she didn't want me on the wedding planning email chain because Greg's mum is just so much better at that stuff. I had said, "Of course, sweetheart." Bridget at 26, pregnant, telling me she didn't want me at the birth because it would be too much. I had said, "Whatever you need." Bridget at 30, asking me for $40,000 toward the down payment on the house I was now standing locked out of. I had written the check the next day. There had been no thank you card. 6 months later, she had sent a thank you card to Greg's parents for a $5,000 contribution. I had seen it on her fridge. Bridget, at 35, telling me on the phone that she'd been thinking a lot lately about the kind of mum I'd been when she was little, and that she wanted me to read a book she'd been reading. The book had a title like, "When Your Mother Was the Problem." I had read it. I had cried reading it. Then I had called her and apologized for things I wasn't sure I had done, because she said she remembered them, and I did not, and a good mother is supposed to believe her daughter. Bridget at 38, sitting at my own dining room table at Thanksgiving, and telling Greg's mother, who was visiting from Tampa, that Mum always gets the gravy a little wrong, but we love her for trying. And everyone at the table had laughed, including me. I closed my eyes in the hotel room, and I felt something I had not let myself feel in 20 years. I felt angry. Not the loud kind, the clean kind, the kind that sees clearly. For 2 decades, I had been managing my own daughter's comfort with my existence. I had been making myself smaller and smaller, easier and easier to stomach, more and more grateful for whatever I got. I had been training myself to be locked out of my own family, one polite humiliation at a time. And tonight, she had simply finished the lesson. I opened a new email. I wrote one sentence to Howard Klein. "Howard, please call me at 6 tomorrow morning. I need to revise the will and the trust before the day starts. Margaret Halloran." I sent it. Then I lay down on top of the hotel comforter in my clothes. and I stared at the ceiling, and I waited for the sun. Howard called at 5:58 a.m. Margaret, Merry Christmas. Howard, thank you for calling so early. Tell me what's happened. I told him. Howard, like Iris, did not interrupt. Howard, like Iris, did not waste words. When I was finished, he said, "All right, get a coffee from the lobby. Get a pen. We're doing this on the phone right now, and I'll bring the documents to your house tomorrow for signing." I went to the lobby. I poured a cup of weak hotel coffee into a paper cup. I took the lid off, came back to the room, sat at the little desk, and I opened the spiral notebook the hotel had left me, as if it had known. "Howard, I'm ready. Tell me what we're doing. I want Bridget removed." From? Everything she is currently named in. The will, the trust, the retirement accounts, the life insurance, the healthcare directive, the financial power of attorney. All of it. He was quiet for a half-second. "Margaret, that is a complete excision, you're sure?" "Howard, last night my 41-year-old daughter watched me on her porch in 12-degree weather and turned off the light. I am sure. Where does it all go?" I had thought about this between 2 and 4 a.m. "My granddaughter, Sloane, she's 8, I want a trust. She cannot touch the principal until she's 25. Bridget cannot touch it ever. Greg cannot touch it ever. The trustee should be Iris, and, after Iris, you, and after you, whoever you recommend." "All right. My sister Iris gets a fixed amount, 200,000. She has been a good sister to me, and her late husband left her thinner than she lets on." "Done. And my house, the Lake Drive house. When I die, I want it sold. Half of the proceeds added to Sloane's trust. The other half—" I paused. I had not actually known what I wanted to do with the other half until that exact moment. And then, sitting in a Holiday Inn Express on Christmas morning, I knew. To the women's shelter on Vine Street, the Anna Bell house. They turned me away in 1979 because they were full, and I had to sleep in my car for 3 nights with a baby in a car seat. I want them to never have to turn anyone away again. Howard had not known about 1,979. Frank had not known about 1,979. Bridget, somewhere upstairs in her king bed with her husband and her lit-up Christmas tree, had not known about 1,979. There was a long pause on the line. "Margaret, I'm sorry I never knew that. You weren't supposed to. Frank wasn't supposed to either. I had decided to leave it behind. But it's mine, Howard, and I want to do something with it now." "All right, Annabelle House. Half the proceeds. I'll draft it today." "One more thing." "Yes. The loan." "Which loan?" "The 40,000 for the down payment in 2014. They signed a note." Frank insisted. "I remember. They've never paid. I want it called in. Full balance plus interest. Certified mail. 30 days. He whistled very softly. "Margaret, with interest. That's going to be—" "Run it for me." He ran it. The number was just over $58,000. "Send it," I said. "Today, if you can." "Margaret, it's Christmas." "Howard, they locked me on a porch." "It goes out today." We talked for another 40 minutes. By the time we hung up, the sun had come up over the parking lot of the Holiday Inn Express, and the snow had stopped, and a single crow was sitting on the roof of my car, and I had revised every legally binding document of my adult life before most of the country had opened its presents. I went down to the breakfast bar at 7, and I ate a hard-boiled egg and a piece of toast. The girl behind the counter, a different one, younger, with a small reindeer pin on her name tag, said, "Merry Christmas, ma'am." I looked at her. "Merry Christmas, sweetheart." It was the first sentence I had said out loud in 12 hours that didn't hurt. I drove home. The interstate was almost empty on Christmas morning. Just truckers and a few sad-looking sedans like mine. I drove with the radio off. I thought about Sloane, about what I would tell her, eventually, about why Grandma stopped coming to the house with the curtain in the window. When I got home, I let myself into my own house with my own key, and I stood in my own foyer, and I took my coat off, and I hung it up. The house was quiet. Frank had been gone almost 11 years now, but the hooks he'd installed were still there. And I had been hanging my coat on his hook every day since, because some habits are how we keep loving people. I made tea. I sat in the kitchen. I called Iris back. "It's done," I said. "All of it?" "All of it." "Margaret, how do you feel?" I considered. "I feel," I said slowly, "like a woman who just took her own life back without breaking anything." Iris started to cry. Iris never cries. "I love you, Margaret." "I love you too." The phone call started at 11:14 a.m. I was washing the breakfast dishes when the first one came. Bridget Mobile. I dried my hands on a towel. I let it ring out. It rang again at 11:17. I let it ring out. 11:23, 11:31, 11:44. At 11:52, a voicemail came through. I listened to it standing at the sink. "Mom, hi. Oh my God, I just saw your text from last night, and I am Mom. We didn't hear the bell. I swear to God, I had no idea you were even outside. I thought you were getting in tonight. I am so sorry. Sloane is asking about you. Where are you? Are you home? Call me back, please. I feel awful." We all feel awful. I noticed the order. "Sloane is asking" came after the apology, like a heat-seeking missile. I noticed the line. "I had no idea you were even outside." I noticed it because I had seen her face in the window. I noticed because the porch light had not turned off by accident. I deleted the voicemail. I went and got my notebook, and I wrote down, word for word, what she had said. I wrote down the time of every missed call. I was not building a case for a court. I was building a case for myself, against the version of me that, 3 years from now, or 5, might start to believe a softer story. The calls kept coming. Bridget, Bridget, Greg, once, Bridget. By 2 p.m., there were 19. At 3:17 p.m., she sent a text that said only, "Mom, please, it's Christmas." I read it. I put the phone face down. I went into my closet, and I got down the box of Frank's old sweaters that I had never been able to give away. And I put on his thick grey cardigan. And I sat in his reading chair. And I did not answer. Some doors don't need to be slammed. Some doors just need to stay closed long enough that the people on the other side finally hear the silence. The certified letter from Howard arrived at Bridget's house on December 29. I know, because Bridget called me 36 minutes after the mail truck would have come through her neighborhood. This time she did not leave a voicemail. She left 17. I listened to 2 of them. I will not transcribe them here. I will tell you the shape of them. They started with confusion. Then they moved to panic. Then they moved to Mom. "You need to call your lawyer right now and stop this. This is insane. This is elder abuse. You are going to be embarrassed when you realize what you've done." The phrase elder abuse almost made me laugh out loud. Elder abuse. From the woman who had locked her 68-year-old mother on a porch in 12-degree weather. I deleted them all. That night, I called Howard. "She's going to come here, Howard." "Probably." "She's going to bring Sloane." "Probably." "What do I do?" "Margaret, you're a grown woman. You don't have to open the door. And if you do, you don't have to have a long conversation. You can simply tell her that the matter is in my hands now, and she should communicate through my office." That feels cold. "Margaret, she turned off the porch light." I sat with that. "Howard, you're a good lawyer." "I'm an old lawyer. Sometimes that's the same thing." She came on December 30 at 4. 0 inches the afternoon. Alone. No Sloane, thank God. She had at least had the decency to leave the 8-year-old out of it. I watched her car pull up through the front window. I watched her sit in the driveway for 90 seconds, looking at her phone, putting it down, picking it up, rehearsing. She rang the bell. I opened the door halfway. Not all the way, halfway. Mom, she started crying immediately. The tears were real. I am not saying they were not real. I am saying that real tears and right behavior are not the same thing, and I had spent 41 years confusing them. Bridget. Mom, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. About Christmas Eve. About everything. I don't know what I was thinking. I had a lot of wine. Greg's brother was being I panicked. I saw your car, and I panicked, and I didn't want a scene. And I told myself, you'd just go to a hotel and we could fix it in the morning. And then by the morning it was, Mom, please, please. I can't lose you over this. I looked at my daughter. I let her cry on my porch the way she had let me stand on hers. Not as long. I am not that kind of woman, but long enough. Bridget. Yes. I want you to listen to me very carefully, because I am only going to say this once, and I am going to say it without raising my voice, because I am not angry. I am clear. Do you understand the difference? She nodded. Her mascara was running. Christmas Eve was not a mistake. Christmas Eve was a pattern. Easter 2022 was the same pattern. Sloane's birthday in October was the same pattern. The wedding emails were the same pattern. The book you sent me was the same pattern. You have been carefully, slowly, politely teaching me that I am optional in your life for almost 20 years. And I have been a very good student. I learned to make myself smaller. I learnt to laugh at the gravy joke. I learnt to apologize for things I did not do. I learned to say, of course, sweetheart, when what I meant was, please don't do this to me. She tried to speak. I held up one hand. She stopped. Christmas Eve, I stopped being a good student. That is what happened, nothing else. Mum, the will. Yes. You can't. Sloane is fine. Sloane is more than fine. Sloane has a trust that you and Greg cannot touch under any circumstances, and that she will receive when she is 25 and able to make her own decisions about who her grandmother was. You're cutting me out. No, Bridget, you cut me out. I am simply updating the paperwork to reflect the room you have made for me, which is none. Mom. The loan is in Howard Klein's hands now. Please do not call me about the loan. Call him. Mom, please. I love you. I looked at her. My daughter, the baby. I had labored 16 hours to deliver in 1983. The little girl who had once made me a Mother's Day card, with a heart so big it had filled an entire piece of construction paper. I loved her too. I would love her until the day I died. That had not changed, and it was not going to change. But love, I had learned at 9:47 p.m. on December 24th, was not the same thing as access. I love you too, Bridget. And I closed the door. I did not see her again that winter. I did not block her, but I stopped answering. Howard handled the loan correspondence. The 30-day deadline came and went. The matter, as Howard delicately put it, moved into a different posture. I did not ask what that meant. I had decided I was going to live the rest of my life without watching the consequences land on people who had earned them. In January, I drove down to Phoenix and I stayed with Iris for 3 weeks. We sat in her sunroom in the mornings and drank coffee and watched the hummingbirds. She did not ask me about Bridget. I did not bring her up. We talked about Frank. We talked about our mother. We talked about a man at her church Iris had been thinking about, which was the closest Iris had come to admitting interest in anyone since her husband died. I came home in February. I joined a book club at the library. I started swimming again at the rec center. Slow laps. 3 mornings a week. I went to the Annabelle house and met the director, a woman named Rosalind, and I told her what was coming to them in my will. And Rosalind held my hand for a long time and said, "Margaret, there is a woman sleeping in our parking lot tonight because we are full. You are saving her granddaughter." I cried then, the first real cry since the porch. In March, Sloane called me. She had used the iPad the way kids do now. Her small face filled my phone screen. She was sitting on her bedroom floor, the pink curtains I had picked out behind her. "Grandma." "Hi, sweet pea. Mom said you weren't talking to us anymore." "Mom and I are taking some time apart, baby. Grown-ups sometimes do that. But you and I are not taking any time apart. You can call me whenever you want. Mum doesn't know I'm calling." "That's all right. You're allowed to call your grandma." She picked at the carpet. She was 8. She was deciding something. "Grandma, did Mom do something bad?" I took a long breath. "Sloane, listen to me very carefully. Your mum is your mum. She loves you more than anything in the whole world, and she always will. What happened between Grandma and Mom is grown-up business, and it is not your job to figure it out. Do you understand me?" "Yes." "But sweetheart, anything you ever want to ask me, you can ask me. I will always tell you the truth, even when you are big, even when you are 40. All right?" "All right. I love you, Sloane." "I love you, Grandma. Are you coming to my birthday this year?" I thought about October, about the wrong address, about crying in my driveway. "Sweetheart, I will come if your mum invites me, gives me the right address, and confirms the day twice. If she does that, I will be there. If she does not, I will send you a present and a card, and I will FaceTime you and sing to you. And that will have to be how we celebrate this year." "But you tell your mum I said exactly that, so she knows the rules." Sloane nodded, very seriously, like an 8-year-old being entrusted with a secret code. "Okay, Grandma." "Okay, baby." On Christmas Eve, the next year, I did not get an invitation. I was not surprised. I was somewhere in a small place I did not want to look at directly, a little relieved. I spent Christmas Eve at Iris's, who had flown in for the week. We ate a roast chicken, and we drank 1 glass of wine each, and we watched an old movie at 9:47 p.m. And I checked, because of course I checked. I was on Iris's couch, in slippers, with my sister's head on my shoulder, and the porch light at my own house was on, and was going to stay on, because I was the woman who controlled the switch now. Before I went to bed, I wrote in the small notebook I had started keeping after the Holiday Inn Express. They turned off the porch light. So I turned on every light in a house they will never own. Then I closed the notebook, and I slept the way a woman sleeps when she has finally stopped standing in the snow waiting to be let into a home she paid for, raised someone in, and survived long enough to leave behind to better hands.